Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we'll go through factorising quadratic trinomials. So this time we're looking at quadratics, things with an x squared term, but where there are three terms in total. So let's just have a quick review of FOIL. So if I expand x plus a, x plus b using FOIL, I get x squared plus, now a plus b, the two numbers in the brackets added together, they give the coefficient of x. And these two numbers in the brackets multiplied together give the constant term. So I went this way, which is expanding. Now I'm going to go the opposite way, which is factorising. So what I will have are three terms. 1, 2, the term with the x, and 3, the constant term. And I want to write it as something times something. That's what factorising means. So I'm going to reverse this process of FOIL. When I am factorising, it's going to be two brackets multiplied together. The two numbers that go in the brackets, they add to give the coefficient of x and multiply to give the constant term. So let's look at an example of this. So let's have x squared plus 7x plus 12. It's a quadratic because of the x squared term. It has 1, 2, 3 terms. So I want to factorize it. I want to write it as something times something. So I know I'm going to have an x in each bracket. So what numbers do I put here in here? Well, I want to find two numbers that add to this and multiply to that. So if I don't know them off the top of my head, I would just go through factors of 12. So it turns out the two numbers are positive 4 and positive 3. So that is my answer, because when I expand this using FOIL, I will get this expression here, because 4 plus 3 will give me the coefficient of x, 4 times 3 will give me the constant term. It's as easy as that. So x squared plus 6x plus 8. We set up our two brackets with an x in. So the two numbers are going to multiply to 8 and add to 6. So they are 4 and 2. And then we're done. Once again, if I expand this using FOIL, I get this. So let's factorise x squared minus 14x plus 24. I need two numbers that multiply to 24 and add this time to negative 14. So you can go through factors of 24. Now, if they multiply to this positive number and add to a negative, they must both be negative. So those two numbers will be negative 12 and negative 2. So negative 12 times negative 2 is positive 24. Negative 12 plus negative 2 is negative 14. Once again, if you expand this using FOIL, you should get this. So let's factorise x squared minus 10x plus 21. Two brackets, each has an x in it. So two numbers that multiply to positive 21 and add to negative 10. They'll again both be negative. So they'll be negative 3 and negative 7. Of course, it doesn't matter in which order you write the brackets because we're multiplying them. So people usually find this kind of trinomial the hardest, where the constant term is negative. We want to find two numbers that multiply to negative 18 and add to negative 3. Now, if you're finding two numbers that multiply to a negative, one is positive and one is negative. So we'll set up our brackets again with x's in them. So the two numbers we're thinking 6 and 3. So which is positive and which is negative? Well, it has to be negative 6 and positive 3. Because negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. Negative 6 plus 3 equals negative 3. So x squared plus 4x minus 32. Once again, constant term negative. So one of the numbers is negative and one is positive. So we'll set up our brackets. So the two numbers here will be minus 4 and positive 8, because they add to 4 and multiply to negative 32. Sometimes you'll get a situation like this, x squared plus 2x plus 1. We'll do it the same way, but the two numbers that multiply to 1 and add to 2 are 1 and 1. So we can still write it like this, or you might write it as x plus 1 squared. Similarly, for x squared minus 6x plus 9, the two numbers that multiply to 9 and add to negative 6, They're both negative 3, so we can just write it as x minus 3 all squared. So let's look at this last one here. 3x squared minus 39x plus 90. Well, this works, this rule up here, only if the thing's monic, only if the coefficient of x squared is 1. What we're going to have to do here is first use highest common factor. So notice we couldn't use it in any others. For example, x squared minus 6x and 9. There's not a factor that goes into all three terms. But here, there is something that goes into all three terms. 3 goes into this, this, and this. So let's take out a highest common factor of 3. So we write that out the front. So then I times 3 by x squared to get the first term here. So what do I need to times by 3 to get negative 39x? And that is, of course, negative 13x. And what do I times by 3 to get 90? Of course, positive 30. So now we have a monic quadratic. The coefficient of x squared is 1. It's a trinomial because there are 1, 2, 3 terms, so we can use our rule up here. So we need to find two numbers that multiply to positive 30 and add to negative 13. So we still need our 3 out the front, and the two such numbers are minus 10 and minus 3. Once again, we are done. So if I were to expand this using FOIL, I would get back this. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.